Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, this ongoing session looking at The Changeling by Thomas Middleton and William Rowley. Yes, we are about a third of the way into the text, and the two plot lines have started to get going. There's still a little bit of work in terms of positive action with the what we might call the hospital plot, but I'm sure there will be some surprises there. But the castle plot is really starting to move now as we go into Act 3. And to discover more about this text, we have in the room reading first Madman and Vermandero is...
Hi, this is Tom from Brighton.
Reading Lollio is... Oh, muted.
Helen Good, no longer muted in Yorkshire.
Reading Alonzo, Alsemero, and Servant is...
Rachel in Canada.
Reading Antonio is...
Lalitte in Paris.
Yay! We've had some technical reasons, that's why I went yay. Reading Franciscus, Alibius, and Tomazo is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I can only spell one of these, or well, two. I don't know. Maybe I can't spell anyway. Anyway, yeah. Moving on.
I can spell them. I can't say them. Reading Beatrice-Joanna is...
I am Olga, and I'm in Moscow.
Reading Diaphanta and Jasperino is...
Pete Roberts from London.
Reading Deflores is...
Liza Graham, also in London.
And joining us for the first time reading Isabella is...
Hi, I'm Holly, and I'm from Bolton in the Northwest.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions. Some of them are original, some of them are inferred, and generally keeping everything moving along. We've got a couple of scenes I'm going to run into each other at the beginning of Act 3. So Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Alonzo and Deflores. In between the previous act and this act, Deflores has hidden a naked rapier on the stage. So anyway, enter Alonzo and Deflores.
Yes, here are all the keys. I was afraid, my lord, I'd wanted for the postern. This is it. I've all, my lord, this for the sconce.
'Tis a most spacious and impregnable fort.
You'll tell me more, my lord. This descent is somewhat narrow. We shall never pass well with our weapons. They'll but trouble us.
Ah, thou sayest true.
Pray, let me help your lordship.
'Tis done. Thanks, kind Deflores.
Here are hooks, my lord, to hang such things on purpose.
And he hangs up the swords, having assisted taking off sword belts.
Lead, I'll follow thee.
And they exit at one door. Act 3, Scene 2. Re-enter Deflores and Alonzo at another door.
All this is nothing. You shall see anon a place you little dream on.
I am glad I have this leisure. All your master's house. Imagine I had taken a gondola.
All but myself, sir, which makes up my safety. My lord, I'll place you at a casement here. Will show you the full strength of all the castle. Look, spend your eye a while upon that object.
Here's rich variety, Deflores.
Yes, sir.
Goodly munition.
Aye, there's ordnance, sir. No bastard metal will ring you a peal like bells at great men's funerals. Oh, keep your eye straight, my lord. Take special notice of that sconce before you. There you may dwell a while.
I am upon it.
And as he looks upon it, Deflores takes up his hidden rapier from the interval.
And so am I.
Stabs him.
Deflores! Oh, Deflores! Whose malice hast thou put on?
Do you question a work of secrecy? I must silence you.
Stabs again.
Oh!
I must silence you.
Stabs him again, and Alonzo dies.
So, here's an undertaking well accomplished. The vault serves to good use now. What's that through sparkles in my eye? Oh, 'tis a diamond he wears upon his finger. 'Twas well found. This will approve the work.
Tries to take the ring off the finger.
What, so fast on? Not part in death. Here, I'll take a speedy course then. Finger and all shot off.
And cuts off his finger.
So now I'll clear the passages from all suspect or fear.
And like a good tidy murderer, he exits with the body. So the close of those two scenes, effectively one unit of action because he just exits and they just exit and walk straight back on again. So this is even there. There's an interesting question for a modern stage production, of course, in terms of the flow of action from the previous act into this act, because of course you wouldn't actually necessarily have an act break where you can set weapons in a modern production because we'd only have one interval and it's somewhere further down in the text. So there's an interesting question as to how you bridge that little gap, because it's effectively we've got Deflores and Alonzo exit and then come straight back on again, and then they exit, and then they come straight on again, and then one murders the other. So there's a certain repetitiousness to that needs some massage, I think, for a modern production. Any thoughts on being horribly murdered? It's all right. You get to play the person you're murdered on the behalf. It's fine. You just basically swap over. Yes. Any thoughts in the room on Murdersville here? I'll go to Rachel. And then Holly.
I particularly like that Deflores stabs Alonzo 3 different times. Dead.
Yes, because it's a thing of, I'm going to stab you. I'm going to shut you up now with this stab. This stab is definitely going to be the coup de grace.
And then one more for good measure.
You sort of wonder how experienced Deflores is at this whole murdering people game. I remember the production at the Globe a few years back in their Sam Wanamaker Playhouse. Like, this murder scene took a long time. The director really wanted to drive home the point that it's really hard to murder a fully fit, healthy adult person, and like, I still remember it as how effective it was. It was years later.
Yes, I've organised quite a few murders on stage, he just quickly puts in there. And yes, length of time for murder is an important one, especially with stranglings. Never do a strangling quickly. Sorry, Holly.
I just remember when I was researching this play as part of my doctorate, and this particular scene, I remember sort of arguing kind of a homoerotic kind of stance to it, particularly the oh. And if you don't know the end of the play, it will definitely make more sense when you get to it. Why I say that is slightly orgasmic in Alonzo's speech. But then the taking the ring off as well. I don't know. Again, I that was my take on it anyway at the time, and I still feel like it's true.
Yeah, we've got some looting of the corpse here, and yes, the taking that shiny thing. Lalitte.
Actually, the thing I noticed most is that he gets Alonzo to look at what he's about to possess, in marrying Beatrice-Joanna. So he thinks, and that's kind of particularly. It's not that it makes Alonzo exactly less sympathetic, or one doesn't feel terrible that he's murdered, but it's just that kind of layer of kind of materialism you get. And he's saying, oh, look at all this, isn't this castle fantastic? You've got these great battlements, you've got I'm not quite sure what a sconce was that he's looking out towards, but it's definitely like, look at all these riches you're going to get. So he kind of catches him out that way, getting him to fix his eyes.
It reminds me when we read the royal entry material for the King of Denmark came visiting, and James shows him round the tower, and they look at all the munitions, and they look at look how wonderful our tower, etc. is. So I sort of get that vibe out of it. I mean, I don't think that's a deliberate thing. I just think that's a text we read, and that just leapt to my mind. But going and looking at all the materials is a thing. I saw Eric waving a while ago. Did I see Matthew as well? Yeah, and then Helen. So Eric.
Okay.
Probably all the same.
I was just going to say the sort of the stabbing. I think we talked about this during maybe Fortune by Land and Sea or something else, where one of the characters got killed, and he's like it was the clown character as well, and he hadn't realized he was being killed until he looks down, and obviously, did I have this much blood in me? Sort of. So there's a part of me going, you could probably extend with physical action as well, sort of like, what are you doing? What? Who? What? Where? Why? How? What is going on here? Which is very sort of, sort of, I don't know, just strangely apt, I guess, and also I am upon it, and so am I. It's like, why would you hide the rapier if you can just take it with you? I mean.
Well, they're not as small as you think. They can be quite substantial weapons. Helen, then Matthew.
Yes, I mean, he takes the sconce as a fitting for a candle on a wall. In order to disarm he disarms himself. Therefore, he is disarmed. Therefore, he must have a second weapon hidden in the chamber. How much of a surprise is this murder to the audience? Not much, I take it.
No, it's literally been planned about two minutes before.
Yeah.
It's like, could you murder this person? The person comes in and says, hi, I'd like to be taken down the murder corridors. Could you do that for me? And he said, yes, absolutely. And then he murders him. So it's in a blink of an eye, we've got the players gone from flirty action, confusion, what would we like, to definite action in an incredibly short period of time. Matthew, and then we must move on because we've barely read anything.
30 seconds. Just the balance between the aural and the visual with the malice, secrecy, silence, serves, sparkles, speedy, passages, suspect. It shushes. I love it when the words do it for us. The place becomes the place we say. The space becomes the place we say it is. And I just think, I know we go to hear a play back in the day, but also the fact that there's a kind of pyrotechnical sparkles. This is like visual. When it always goes back to the eye, which can be quite phallic as well. Next.
Okay. On that note, let's go into Act 3, Scene 3. How did so many scenes pass so quickly? Enter Isabella, who we've not met, and Lollio, who we have. Oh, you're muted at present, Isabella.
Why, sirrah, whence have you commission to fetter the doors against me? If you keep me in a cage, pray whistle to me. Let me be doing something.
You shall be doing, if it please you. I'll whistle to you if you'll pipe after.
Is it your master's pleasure, or your own, to keep me in this pinfold?
'Tis for my master's pleasure, lest being taken in another man's corn, you might be pounded in another place.
'Tis very well, and he'll prove very wise.
He says you have company enough in the house, if you please to be sociable, of all sorts of people.
Of all sorts? Why, here's none but fools and madmen.
Very well. And where will you find any other if you should go abroad? There's my master and I to boot too.
Of either sort one, a madman and a fool.
I would even participate of both then if I were as you. I know you're half mad already. Be half foolish too.
You're a brave, saucy rascal. Come on, sir, afford me then the pleasure of your bedlam. You were commending once today to me, your last come lunatic. What a proper body there was without brains to guide it, and what a pitiful delight appeared in that defect, as if your wisdom had found a mirth in madness. Pray, sir, let me partake, if there be such a pleasure.
If I do not show you the handsomest, discreetest madman, one that I may call the understanding madman, then say I am a fool.
Well, a match, I will say so.
When you have a taste of the madman, you shall, if you please, see Fool's College of the side. I seldom lock there. 'Tis but shooting a bolt or two, and you are amongst them.
Exit Lollio.
Come on, sir. Let me see how handsomely you'll behave yourself now.
Enter Lollio with Franciscus.
How sweetly she looks. Oh, but there's a wrinkle in her brow as deep as philosophy. Anacreon, drink to my mistress' health. I'll pledge it. Stay. There's a spider in the cup. No, 'tis but a gravestone. Swallow it, fear nothing. Poet, so, lift higher.
Alack, alack, 'tis too full of pity to be laughed at. How fell he mad? Canst thou tell?
Oh, for love, mistress. He was a pretty poet, too, and that set him forwards first. The muses then forsook him. He ran mad for a chambermaid. Yet she was but a dwarf neither.
Hail, bright Titania! Why standst thou idle on these flowery banks? Oberon is dancing with his dryads. I'll gather daisies, primrose, violets, and bind them in a verse of poetry.
Not too near. You see your danger.
Hold thy hand, great Diamond. Thou feedest thy horse as well. They shall obey thee. Get up, Bucephalus sneezes.
Gets down on all fours.
You see how I awe my flock. A shepherd has not his dog at more obedience.
His conscience is unquiet. Sure that was the cause of this. A proper gentleman.
Come hither, Asclepius. Hide the poison.
Well, 'tis hid.
Didst thou ever hear of one Tiresias, a famous poet?
Yes, that kept 10 wild geese.
That's he. I am the man.
No.
Yes, but make no words on it. I was a man 7 years ago.
A stripling, I think you mean.
Now I'm a woman, all feminine.
Oh, would I might see that.
Juno struck me blind.
I'll never believe that. For a woman, they say, has an eye more than a man.
I say she struck me blind.
And Luna made you mad? You have 2 trades to beg with.
Luna is now big-bellied, and there's room for both of us to ride with Hecate. I'll drag thee up into her silver sphere, and then we'll kick with the dog and beat the bush that barks against the witches of the night. The swift lycanthropi that walks the round will tear their wolfish skins and save the sheep.
And I've got alternative stage directions here that Franciscus grabs Lollio in some fashion. I've got beats Lollio in one interpretation.
It's come to this. Nay, then, my poison comes forth again. Mad slave, indeed. Abuse your keeper.
Shows him the whip again.
I prithee hence with him. Now he grows dangerous.
We'd love pity me, give me leave to lie with thee.
No, I'll see you wiser first. To your own kennel.
No noise, she sleeps. Draw all the curtains round, let no soft sound molest the pretty soul. But love, and love creeps in at a mouse hole.
I would you would get into your hole.
And exit Franciscus.
Now, mistress, I will bring you another sort. You shall be fooled another while. Tony, come hither. Tony, look who's yonder, Tony.
And enter Antonio.
Cousin! Is it not my aunt?
Yes, 'tis one of them, Tony.
Hey, how do you, uncle?
Fear him not, mistress. 'Tis a gentle midget. You may play with him as safely with him as with his bauble.
Alas, how long hast thou been a fool?
Ever since I came hither, cousin.
Cousin? I'm none of thy cousins, fool.
Oh, mistress, fools have always so much wit as to claim their kindred.
Bounce, bounce, he falls, he falls.
Hark you, your scholars in the upper room are out of order.
Must I come amongst you there? Keep you the fool, mistress. I'll go up and play left-handed Orlando among the madmen.
And exit Lollio.
Well, sir.
'Tis opportuneful now, sweet lady. Nay, cast no amazing eye upon this change. This shape of folly shrouds your dearest love, the truest servant to your powerful beauties, whose magic had this force thus to transform me.
You are a fine fool indeed.
Oh, 'tis not strange. Love has an intellect that runs through all the scrutinous sciences, and like a cunning poet catches a quantity of every knowledge, it brings all home into one mystery, into one secret that he proceeds in.
You are a parlous fool.
No danger in me. I bring naught but love, and his soft wounding shafts to strike you with. Try but one arrow. If it hurt you, I'll stand you 20 back in recompense.
And goes to kiss her.
A forward fool too.
This was love's teaching. 1,000 ways he fashioned out my way, and this I found the safest and nearest to tread the galaxia to my star.
Profound withal. Certain you dreamed of this. Love never taught in waking.
Take no acquaintance of these outward follies. There is within a gentleman that loves you.
When I see him, I'll speak with him. So in the meantime, keep your habit. It becomes you well enough. As you are a gentleman, I'll not discover you. That's all the favour that you must expect. When you are weary, you may leave the school. For all this, while you have but played the fool.
And I'm going to pause there before Lollio comes back in. And for those who are here for the first scene within this plot, oh my goodness! And it was all he was just pretending all along, or was he? What? Oh, I'm surprised. I don't think anyone actually is. That yes, that there is an attempt going on to woo the wife, and things. Thoughts in the room on this scene? It's a problematic scene in many ways. We've already discussed the issue of the whole institution that we're in, and the treatment of people within, and what the text is doing, and what we're supposed to take out of it, and what we do with it in performance today. But thoughts? Anyone want to leap in? Eric.
I'm starting to think this is the how do you call it, the Beatrice-Joanna's dad's sex dungeon that he runs like off-site. Because he's got this guy, Lollio, whipping people and making sex jokes all the time, and pretty much like grooming them into being either mad or whatever. Yes, I'm here for all week, mostly. What was I going to say? I was going to say that Franciscus actually looks quite self-aware as a fool. He's like sort of, as a madman, he knows he's where he is, and he knows exactly what's going on. Sort of, he knows the threat of the whip and what it means.
Yes, or does he? We shall see. Helen, and then I'll go to Tom.
Yes, as a servant to a madhouse keeper, I would expect to make a fair amount of my income in showing off my charges to the interested public, and certainly I would. The place would be understaffed. It would be necessary to keep order with a whip.
Yes. And in fact, that was pretty much the introduction to Lollio as a character. Was a very lengthy induction process that we got in the first act or so. Other thoughts, Tom?
I just like the text. It moves beautifully. It keeps going. It keeps you interested. It's clipped and short and sweet. It's nicely constructed.
Oh yes, I mean this is a very tight play. It doesn't. I mean there are some excesses perhaps in this sequence, but broadly speaking, it's putting stuff in here that it's going to play on later. I mean, with any sort of clown part that Lollio is like, there's a certain amount of, I have now all my jokes I need to get through, and therefore I am going to do all of the jokes, and the deeply subtle sex jokes that he has. I mean, my word. Yeah, lot
Well, they
of
went
that.
over my head.
I'm sure they did.
I was reading it straight.
Absolutely, that's the only way to do it. I'm absolutely sure.
I'm stunned by the kind of suaveness of Antonio. He's got his whole kind of speech almost pre-planned, and all the cliches are there. Shafts and arrows and recompense. I mean, it's quite creepy, actually. I don't know if anyone else gets a creepy vibe from Antonio, but I certainly do.
I think you're allowed to have a creepy vibe from everyone in this play at some point. I think that's a perfectly valid position. I don't think anyone here is going to try and gain the moral high ground, because I don't think anyone's going to get it. But maybe just who's going to be slightly lower down that moral high ground than others. Eric, and then we'll move on.
Well, we did have one character who had some moral standing and like general politeness that we kind of liked, but he got murdered.
Yeah, I was going to say we just killed him, so that's a bit awkward. It's a tragedy, people. Or is it? Discuss. Okay, we had that last time. Let us continue the scene. So, Antonio chatting to Isabella. Lollio re-enters. Enter Lollio.
And must again. Hey, I thank you, cousin. I'll be your Valentine tomorrow morning.
How do you like the fool, mistress?
Passing well, sir.
Is he not witty? Pretty well for a fool.
If he hold on as he begins, he is like to come to something.
Aye, thank a good tutor. You may put him to it. He begins to answer pretty hard questions. Tony, how many times is 5 times 6?
5 times 6 is 6 times 5.
What arithmetician could have answered better? How many is 107?
107 is 701, cousin.
This is no wit to speak on. Will you be rid of the fool now?
By no means, let him stay a little.
Catch the last couple in hell.
Again! Must I come amongst you? Would my master were come home. I'm not able to govern both these wards together.
Exit Lollio.
Why should a minute of love's hour be lost?
Fie, out again. I had rather you kept your other posture. You become not your tongue when you speak from your clothes.
How can he freeze live so near so sweet a warmth? Shall I alone walk through the orchard of Hesperides and cowardly not dare to pull an apple? This with the red cheeks I must venture for.
And he tries to kiss her. Enter Lollio above.
Take heed. There's giants, keep him.
And possibly kissing her at this moment.
How now, fool? Are you good at that? Have you read Lipsius? He's past ours, Amandi. I believe I must put harder questions to him. I perceive that.
You are bold without fear, too.
What should I fear, having all joys about me? Do you smile, and love shall play the wanton on your lip, meet and retire, retire and meet again. Look you but cheerfully, and in your eyes I shall behold mine own deformity, and dress myself up fairer. I know this shape becomes me not, but in those bright mirrors I shall array me handsomely.
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
Exit Lollio. Enter Madman above, some as birds, others as beasts.
What are these?
Of fear enough to part us. Yet are they but our schools of lunatics. They act their fantasies in any shape suiting their present thoughts. If sad, they cry. If mirth be their conceit, they laugh again. Sometimes they imitate the beasts and birds, singing or howling, braying, barking, all as their wild fancies prompt them.
And the exit the Madman above. Enter Lollio.
These are no fears.
But here's a large one, my man.
Ha ha, that's fine sport indeed, cousin.
I would my master were come home. 'Tis too much for one shepherd to govern 2 of these flocks. Nor can I believe that one churchman can instruct 2 benefices at once. There will be some incurable mad on the one side, and very fools on the other. Come, Tony.
Prithee, cousin, let me stay here still.
No, you must to your book now. You have played sufficiently.
Your fool is grown wondrous witty.
Well, I'll say nothing, but I do not think he will put you down, one of these days.
Exit Lollio and Antonio.
Here the restrained current might make breach, spite of the watchful bankers. Would a woman stray? She need not gad abroad to seek her sin. It would be brought home one ways or other. The needle's point will to the fixed north. Such drawing Arctics women's beauties are.
Enter Lollio.
How dost thou, sweet rogue?
How now?
Come. There are degrees. One fool may be better than another.
What's the matter?
Nay, if thou givest thy mind to fools, flesh, have at thee.
And tries to kiss her.
You bold slave, you!
I could follow now as t'other fool did. What should I fear, having all joys about me? Do you smile, and love shall play the wanton on your lip? Meet and retire, retire and meet again. Look you but cheerfully, and in your eyes I shall behold mine own deformity, and dress myself up fairer. I know this shape becomes me not, and so it follows. But is not this the more foolish way? Come, sweet rogue, kiss me, my little Lacedaemonian. Let me feel how thy pulses beat. Thou hast a thing about thee would do a man pleasure. I'll lay my hand on it.
Sirrah, no more. I see you have discovered this love's knight errant, who hath made adventure for purchase of my love. Be silent, mute as a statue, or his injunction for me enjoying shall be to cut thy throat. I'll do it, though for no other purpose, and be sure he'll not refuse it.
My share, that's all. I'll have my fool's part with you.
No more. Your master.
Enter Alibius.
Sweet, how dost thou?
Your bounden servant, sir.
Fie, sweetheart, no more of that.
You had best lock me up.
In my arms and bosom, my sweet Isabella, I'll lock thee up most nearly. Lollio, we have employment. We have task in hand at noble Vermandero's, our castle captain. There is a nuptial to be solemnized. Beatrice-Joanna, his fair daughter, bride, for which the gentleman hath bespoke our pains. A mixture of madmen and our fools to finish, as it were, and make the fag of all the revels, the third night from the first. Only an unexpected passage over, to make a frightful pleasure, that is all, but not the all I aim at. Could we so act it, to teach it in a wild, distracted measure, though out of form and figure, breaking time's head, it were no matter. 'Twould be healed again in one age or another, if not this, Lollio, there's a good reward begun, and will beget a bounty, be it known.
Well, this is easy, sir, I'll warrant you. You have about you fools and madmen that can dance very well. And 'tis no wonder your best dancers are not the wisest men. The reason is, with often jumping, they jolt their brains down into their feet, that their wits lie more in their heels than in their heads.
Honest, Lollio, that gives me good reason and a comfort in it.
You have a fine trade on it. Madmen and fools are a staple commodity.
Oh, wife, we must eat, wear clothes, and live. Just at the lawyer's haven we arrive. By madmen and by fools we both do thrive.
And they exit. Okay, this scene's doing a lot of stuff, especially with potential parallels with what's going on in the other plot. I mean, we have this tangential connection being drawn here because the hospital plot is being drawn in to provide entertainment for the nuptials that are definitely going to be happening very soon. Nobody's been murdered, absolutely not. And yeah, but we've got this clown overseeing and yeah, there's a additional nastiness to Lollio that we were noting last time, and we were talking about institutional abuses that this text is talking about, and you know the way that's working, and you know the moment Lollio thinks he's got something on Isabella, he's straight in there. This is a dark, dark world. Thoughts in the room? Anyone want to leap in? Eric?
Last time I think I'd said that I had suspected that Deflores and Lollio, I mean, they're mirroring each other, obviously, but I had suspected that they were played by the same actor. But if there's an overlap, then obviously that might be problematic. I mean, I don't know if they actually meet in the play, so yeah. But it seems like you could easily double them, but then that means why waste, the sort of... It might be more fun to have separate parts.
There's a definite mirroring. I think you're absolutely right thematically, and between the two plot lines. And actually, yes, there might almost be a way of making an explicit double. This is a fairly separate series of plot strands. It's not entirely as we've just discovered, there is a bit of connective tissue between the two, but a lot of the time they're not. Certainly halfway through the play, they haven't really interacted with each other very much. So that might be a possible thing to do, he said at this juncture. Other thoughts on this scene? Lalitte.
I'm just wondering how kind of habitual it would have been to invite inmates of a madhouse to entertain you at your wedding. It seems a very odd kind of it's kind of an odd gig. And I don't know how, I mean, I know people used to have a very different attitude to madness, and people did go and, watch people in Bedlam, right. And, there are all those ghastly shows that in Paris by Charcot, where he was showing women off. So, there were spectacles made, but I'm not aware of people. It always seemed to be people coming to the madhouse to see the mad rather than the mad being taken out and placed at a wedding.
Yes, but that said, we have met Beatrice-Joanna's father, and I'm not in the least bit surprised. But I think, yes, it's a good point. Liza.
Well, a couple of things to say. First of all, I mean, it's not out of the realms of possibility that Vermandero may be, or Beatrice-Joanna's father may be the madhouse's patron, since this is his castle and his domain. And for him, it would be a charitable work. And we often see, when you think about a lord or a king in a castle keeping a fool, often this is what that was. It wasn't like a professional comedian who told jokes. Later it came to be that, but before that it was sort of a charitable work where you would keep a mentally disabled person as a sort of mascot, and this was a cultural thing in these houses, that it was sort of a status symbol to be able to keep a fool with all your other servants and people.
And it was a sort of an extension of a social obligation in the sense that you would be looking after and paying for the keep of people. It turns up as a debating point in a play called Witty and Witless, as an extended question about what is a better life to lead. Someone who lives a sort of, potentially, depending on the lord and the king, a life of comparative ease because they wouldn't be expected to work. And so it may be an extension of that. Yes. Sorry, Liza, back in.
Oh, really? Not much more to say, but we do, in other early modern plays, we do see quote unquote mad people used as entertainment.
But it's the en masse quality of this that does seem to be quite different, and I don't know of any examples of this scale of that idea. Eric,
wasn't there also maybe not a ban on dancing, but some sort of, or is that after this play? I don't know, like some sort of there will be no dancing on Sundays or something. I don't know.
What's the date of this play?
1622. No.
Out of mind.
No, yeah, I don't think so. I think you're not allowed to have any fun on Sunday. I mean, regardless of anything. So.
Yeah, but I seem to remember there was a specific point in history where there was like a dancing sickness or something, which was basically.
That might be on the continent.
Perhaps.
I don't know. There's nothing ringing a bell on that point specifically here. Any more before we go back up to the castle? Okay, let's head up there. Act 3, Scene 4. Enter Vermandero, Alsemero, Jasperino, and Beatrice-Joanna.
Valencia speaks so nobly of you, sir. I wish I had a daughter now for you.
The fellow of this creature were a partner for a king's love.
I had her fellow once, sir, but heaven has married her to joys eternal. 'Twere sin to wish her in this vale again. Come, sir, your friend, and you shall see the pleasures which my health chiefly enjoys.
I hear the beauty of this seat largely.
It falls much short of that.
And they exit apart from Beatrice-Joanna.
So here's one step into my father's favor. Time will fix him. I have got him now the liberty of the house, so wisdom by degrees work out her freedom. And if that eye be darkened that offends me, I wait but that eclipse, this gentleman shall soon shine glorious in my father's liking, through the refulgent virtue of my love.
Enter Deflores.
My thoughts are at a banquet for the deed. I feel no weight in't. 'Tis but light and cheap for the sweet recompense that I set down for it.
Deflores.
Lady.
Thy looks promise cheerfully.
All things are answerable. Time, circumstance, your wishes, and my service.
Is it done then?
Piraquo is no more.
My joys start at mine eyes. Our sweet delights are evermore born weeping.
I have a token for you.
For me.
But it was sent somewhat unwillingly. I could not get the ring without the finger.
Shows her the finger.
Bless me, what hast thou done?
Is that more than killing the whole man? I cut his heartstrings. A greedy hand thrust in a dish at court, in a mistake hath had as much as this.
'Tis the first token my father made me send him.
And I made him send it back again for his last token. I was loath to leave it. I'm sure dead men have no use of jewels. He was as loath to part with it, for it stuck as if the flesh and it were both one substance.
At the stag's fall the keeper has his fees. 'Tis soon applied. All dead men's fees are yours, sir. I pray bury the finger, but the stone you may make use on shortly. The true value taked off my truth is near 300 ducats.
Will hardly buy a cap case for one's conscience, though, to keep it from the worm, fine as 'tis. Well, being my fees, I'll take it. Great men have taught me that, or else my merit would scorn the way on't.
It might justly, sir. Why, thou mistakes, Deflores, 'tis not given in state of recompense.
No, I hope so, lady. You should soon witness my contempt to it, then.
Prithee, thou look'st as if thou wert offended.
That were strange, lady. 'Tis not possible my service should draw such a cause from you. Offended? Could you think so? That were much for one of my performance, and so warm yet in my service.
'Twere misery in me to give you cause, sir.
I know so much. It were so. Misery in her most sharp condition.
'Tis resolved, then. Look you, sir, here's 3,000 golden florins. I have not meanly thought upon thy merit.
What salary? Now you move me.
How, Deflores?
Do you place me in the rank of verminous fellows to destroy things for wages? Offer gold, the lifeblood of man? Is anything valued too precious for my recompense?
I understand thee not.
I could have hired a journeyman in murder at this rate, and mine own conscience might have slept at ease and had the work brought home.
I'm in a labyrinth. What will content him? I would fain be rid of him. I'll double the sum, sir.
You take a course to double my vexation. That's the good you do.
Bless me, I'm now in worse plight than I was. I know not what will please him. For my fear's sake, I pray thee make away with all speed possible, and if thou be so modest not to name the sum that will content thee, paper blushes not, send thy demand in writing. It shall follow thee, but prithee take thy flight.
You must fly too, then.
I?
I'll not stir a foot else.
What's your meaning?
Why are you not as guilty, I'm sure, as deep as I? And we should stick together. Come, your fears counsel you but ill. My absence would draw suspect upon you instantly. There were no rescue for you.
He speaks home.
Nor is it fit we two, engaged so jointly, should part and live asunder.
And tries to kiss her.
How now, sir? This shows not well.
What makes your lip so strange? This must not be twixt us.
The man talks wildly.
Come kiss me with a zeal now.
Heaven, I doubt him.
I will not stand so long to beg him shortly.
Take heed, Deflores, or forgetfulness, 'twill soon betray us.
Take you heed first. Faith, you're grown much forgetful. You're to blame in it.
'Tis bold, and I'm blamed for it.
I have eased you of your trouble. Think on't. I'm in pain and must be eased of you. 'Tis a charity. Justice invites your blood to understand me.
I dare not.
Quickly.
Oh, I never shall. Speak it yet further off, that I may lose what has been spoken, and no sound remain on't. I would not hear so much offence again for such another deed.
Soft, lady, soft, the last is not yet paid for. Oh, this act hath put me into spirit. I was as greedy on't as the parched earth of moisture when the clouds weep. Did you not mark I wrought myself into it, nay, sued and kneeled for it? Why was all that pains took? You see I've thrown contempt upon your gold, not that I want it, not for I do, piteously, but in order I will come unto it and make use on't. But 'twas not held so precious to begin with, for I place wealth after the heels of pleasure, and were I not resolved in my belief that thy virginity were perfect in thee, I should betake my recompense with grudging, as if I had but half my hopes I agreed for.
Why, 'tis impossible thou canst be so wicked, or shelter such a cunning cruelty to make his death the murderer of my honour. Thy language is so bold and vicious, I cannot see which way I can forgive it with any modesty.
Hush, you forget yourself, a woman dipped in blood, and talk of modesty.
Oh, misery of sin! Would I had bound perpetually unto my living hate in that Piracquo than to hear these words. Think but upon the distance that creation set twixt thy blood and mine, and keep thee there.
Look but into your conscience, read me there. 'Tis a true book. You'll find me there your equal. Push, fly not to your birth, but settle you in what the act has made you. You're no more now. You must forget your parentage to me. You're the deed's creature. By that name you lost your first condition, and I challenge you, as peace and innocency has turned you out and made you one with me.
With thee, foul villain.
Yes, my fair murderess. Do you urge me? Though thou right'st made, thou whore in thy affection. 'Twas changed from thy first love, and that's a kind of whoredom in thy heart. And he's changed now to bring thy second on, thy Alsemero, who by all sweets that ever darkness tasted, if I enjoy thee not, thou ne'er enjoyest. I'll blast the hopes and joys of marriage. I'll confess all. My life I rate at nothing.
Deflores.
I'll rest from all lovers' plagues then. I live in pain now. That shooting eye will burn my heart to cinders.
Sir, hear me.
She that in life and love refuses me, in death and shame my partner she shall be.
Stay. Hear me once for all.
She kneels.
I make thee master of all the wealth I have in gold and jewels. Let me go poor unto my bed with honour, and I'm rich in all things.
Let this silence thee. The wealth of all Valencia shall not buy my pleasure from me. Can you weep fate from its determined purpose? So soon may you weep me.
Vengeance begins. Murder I see is followed by more sins. Was my creation in the womb so cursed, it must engender with a viper first?
Come, rise, and shroud your blushes in my bosom.
And lifts her up.
Silence is one of pleasure's best receipts. The peace is wrought forever in this yielding. Alas, how the turtle pants! Thou'lt love anon what thou so fearest, and faint'st to venture on.
And they exit. And yes, Act 3 does seem to be the theme between the two plot lines is very apparent. The two plot lines are orbiting each other. You've got someone who is in love, or at least moderately interested in somebody else, and somebody else is taking or attempting to take advantage of that situation, and in a sexual capacity. And yeah, both plot lines are doing that. And here, I mean, this is an element of the bargain that was made in the previous acts, and Deflores has turned up to extract what he thinks he deserves. Discuss thoughts from the room. The play started off quite dark. It got darker, and it's continued to get darker into Act 3. There are 2 more acts to go of darkness. I'm not going to pretend it's going to get any cheerfuler. Tom.
I like it.
It's dramatically effective. I don't disagree. It's an incredibly effective sequence, and it's an incredibly effective scene for 2 actors to play. I mean, it really is. There's so much potential there. I find it a little odd that this scene comes after the Lollio sequence. It's interesting that you follow the clown doing this rather than the other way round, which is sort of what you expect. You get that in Faustus, for example. You have serious magicking, and then you have the clown doing a slightly spoof version of it. Here, it's the other way round. Though I wouldn't say for a second that Lollio's is just clowning away. He is definitely not. It's all about an extraction of power. I'm talking a lot, by the way, because nobody's waving at me. Someone have an opinion. Matthew.
Just going back to their scene before, it's the physical choreography. It was him that was kneeling, and now it's she that is kneeling. It's just a lovely juxtaposition of the power dynamic.
Yes. Liza.
Yeah, I mean, this scene is just fucked up in a lot of ways. And I'm wondering whether when you put it on YouTube, the video shouldn't, even though it's 400 years old, the video shouldn't carry, whether the video should carry a content warning for sexual assault. It's and it's kind of astounding that Beatrice-Joanna is still sympathetic at this point, because, she's in love. She's in love. She has done what she believes is necessary to make that happen. Deflores points out multiple times that she is now a murderess and has no leg to stand on. But she's still sympathetic here. And I think that's kind of a magnificent thing about the writing, that she's maybe Olga can say a bit more about this, having walked in Beatrice's shoes, but I also think that, obviously we know there is dramatic necessity as to what the two characters have to do and how the scene has to end. But I would think that Beatrice-Joanna could have maybe been a little bolder, and had Deflores sent away as the murderer, possibly. And when he accused her, she could have used her position to just say, this man is being ridiculous. Possibly.
Yeah, it's an interesting question about power dynamics. Because you look at the beginning of the play, she is the daughter of the general in charge of the castle. You think that all the power is there, but actually the power is being taken away. And yes, maybe there was another gambit, but in this, is that where the scene takes us? Lalitte, then Eric.
Actually, I think it was Olga, then or Lalitte, then Olga, then me. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, this is what I call the britch trope, the rich bitch kind of thing that you get in so much drama, where the fact that you have a woman who is rich and tries to protect herself with all kinds of privileges she was born with, and then that all gets stripped away because any kind of privilege she has that comes from, who her father is, basically, it's so aléatoire. It's stripped away so easily. And I'm getting a lot of Miss Julie vibes here as well. It's that somehow, the woman who sins, who's a wealthy woman, it kind of allows, once the mask's off, it allows this one to unleash this kind of terrible misogyny, vicious, savage sexual assault that is kind of allowed because she's rich and a bitch, as it were. So I find this scene so upsetting. It really kind of terrifies me, actually. Absolutely terrifies me.
Olga, did you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm in a blessed darkness here. It's a pure sight reading from my part. So I didn't know that it was a rich bitch or anything else. It's just going with the flow, going with not knowing what's going to happen next moment. Made it all pretty realistic, and it's not blackmailing as much as actually the very sin that strips all the power, I guess. So yeah, it's she's losing her high moral grounds, I guess, and so immediately she's sort of broken from inside.
Eric, then we will move into Act 4.
Yeah, I was thinking how, because I know that, I know, having listened to what other people have said in previous scenes and stuff, and how, Matthew always focuses on language and stuff, and the vocabulary here seems to have switched from sort of all the body parts and stuff to, body fluids, as well as actual, the language of war, almost, and language of religion, where you've got, virginity, wealth, pleasure, cunning, cruelty, death, murder, honor. These are things that are they're very abstract, but they're they're made real because of the situation. Kind of like losing honor is for a woman is what basically equal to social murder, or basically equal to murder in some cases. Like his sort of threat that if I enjoy thee not, thou never enjoyest Alsemero, then it's very real for her. Like, you'll never be happy if this happens. Whether or not I confess, whether or not I confess my sins and yours, because you wanted him, the means do not justify the end, and that kind of thing, or vice versa. The end does not justify the means. Sorry. So yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, it's part of the play, and that's also part of the previous scene that we had with Lollio. Sort of Antonio pretended to be something he wasn't in order to get to Isabella, which is basically quite, on some level it's understandable, but also extreme. So, when Lollio demands his share, which is what he actually says, I want my share of this situation, because I know and I'm going to tell, it's kind of like maneuvering them into a situation where they can't be happy if either way. Like, it's a catch-22.
Right. Well, the audience then, as probably an audience now, would had a relatively short interval. We would probably put maybe around about here an interval for an audience today. So there is a little time to take in what has just occurred as well. We, however, go into Act 4, and there is a dumb show to open the play in Act 4. Enter Gentlemen, Vermandero, meeting them with action of wonderment at the flight of Piracquo. Anyone who knows how to demonstrate the action of wonderment at the flight, to get that across to the audience, good luck with that. Enter Alsemero with Jasperino and Gallants. Vermandero points to him, the gentleman seeming to applaud the choice. Exeunt Vermandero. Alsemero, Jasperino, and Gentleman and Gallants also exit. They all exit in sort of procession. Enter Beatrice-Joanna, the bride, following in great state, accompanied with Diaphanta, Isabella, and other gentlewomen. Enter Deflores, after all, smiling at the accident. Alonzo's ghost appears to Deflores in the midst of his smile, startles him, showing him the hand whose finger he had cut off. They pass over in great solemnity, leaving Beatrice-Joanna for Act 4, Scene 1.
Fellow has undone me endlessly. Never was bride so fearfully distressed. The more I think upon the ensuing night, and whom I am to cope within embraces, one who's emboldened both in blood and mind, so clear in understanding, that's my plague now, before whose judgment will my fault appear, like malefactors' crimes before tribunals. There is no hiding on't. The more I dive into my own distress, how a wise man stands for a great calamity, there's no venturing into his bed, what cause soever I light upon, without my shame, which may grow up to danger. He cannot but in justice strangle me as I lie by him, as a cheater use me. 'Tis a precious craft to play with a false die before a cunning gamester. Here's his closet, the key left in't, and he abroad in the park. Sure 'twas forgot. I'll be so bold as look in't. Bless me, a right physician's closet 'tis, set round with vials, every one marked too. Sure he does practise physic for his own use, which may be safely called your great man's wisdom. What manuscript lies here? The book of experiment, called Secrets in Nature. 'Tis so. How to know whether a woman be with child or no. I hope I am not yet. If you should try it, though, let me see, follow 45. Here it is. The leaf tucked down upon the place suspicious. If you would know whether a woman be with child or not, give her 2 spoonfuls of the white water in glass sea. Where's that glass sea? Oh, yonder I see it now. And if she be with child, she sleeps full 12 hours after. If not, not. None of what that water comes into my belly. I'll know you from 100. I could break you now and turn you into milk, and so beguile the master of the mystery. But I'll look to you. Ha! That which is next is 10 times worse. How to know whether a woman be a maid or not? If that should be applied, what would become of me? Belike he has a strong faith of my purity that never yet made proof. But this he calls a merry, slight, but true experiment. The author, Antonius Mizaldus. Give the party you suspect the quantity of a spoonful of the water in the glass M, which upon her that is a maid makes 3 several effects. 'Twill make her incontinently gape, then fall into a sudden sneezing, last into a violent laughing, else dull, heavy, and lumpish. Where had I been? I fear it, yet 'tis 7 hours to bedtime.
Enter Diaphanta.
Good, madam, are you here?
Seeing that wench now, a trick comes in my mind. 'Tis a nice piece, gold cannot purchase. I come hither, wench, to look my lord.
Would I had such a cause to look him too. Why, he's i' the park, madam.
Oh, there let him be.
Aye, madam. Let him encompass whole parks and forests as great ranges do. At roosting time a little lodge can hold him. Earth-conquering Alexander, that thought the world too narrow for him, in the end had put his pit hole.
I fear thou art not modest, Diaphanta.
Your thoughts are so unwillingly to be known, madam. 'Tis ever the bride's fashion towards bedtime to set light by her joys, as if she owed 'em not.
The joys, the fears, thou wouldst say.
Fear of what?
Art thou a maid, and talk'st so to a maid? You leave a blushing business behind, beshrew your heart for't.
Do you mean good sooth, madam?
Well, if I'd thought upon the fear at first, man should have been unknown.
Well, 'tis possible.
I will give 1,000 ducats to that woman, would try what my fear were, and tell me true tomorrow when she gets from't. As she likes, I might perhaps be drawn to it.
Are you in earnest?
Do you get the woman? Then challenge me, and see if I'll fly from't. But I must tell you, this by the way, she must be a true maid, else there's no trial. My fears are not hers else.
Nay, she that I would put into your hands, madam, shall be a maid.
You know I should be shamed else, because she lies for me.
'Tis a strange humour, but are you serious still? Would you resign your first night's pleasure and give money too?
As willingly as live. Alas, the gold is but a by-bet to wedge in the honour.
I do not know how the world goes abroad for faith or honesty, but there's both required in this. Madam, what say you to me, and stray no further? I've a good mind, in truth, to earn your money.
You're too quick, I fear, to be a maid.
How? Not a maid? Nay, then. You urge me, madam. Your honourable self is not a truer with all your fears upon you.
Bad enough, then.
Then I with all my lightsome joys about me.
I'm glad to hear it. Then you dare put your honesty upon an easy trial.
Easy. Anything.
I'll come to you straight.
She will not search me, will she? Like the forewoman of a female jury?
Plus M. Aye, this is it. Look, Diaphanta, you take no worse than I do.
She drinks and hands Diaphanta the glass.
And in so doing, I will not question what 'tis, but take it.
And she drinks.
Now, if the experiment be true, 'twill praise itself and give me noble ease.
Diaphanta gapes.
It begins already. There's the first symptom.
Diaphanta sneezes.
And what haste it makes to fall into a second, thereby this time most admirable secret. On the contrary, it stirs not mere wit, which most concerns it. Just in all things and in order, as 'twere circumscribed, one accident gives way unto another. How now, wench?
I am so loud and hard, so pleasurable, but one must swing, madam.
Aye, tomorrow. We shall have time to sit by it.
Now I'm sad again.
It plays itself so gently, too. Come, wench, most honest Diaphanta, I care call thee now.
Pray tell me, madam, what trick call you this?
I'll tell thee all hereafter. We must study the carriage of this business.
I shall carriage well, because I love the burthen.
About midnight, you must not fail to steal forth gently, that I may use the place.
Oh, fear not, madam. I shall be cool by that town. The bride's place, and with 1,000 ducats. I'm for a justice now. I'll bring a potion with me. I scorn small fools.
And exeunt. So we have it. It's an interesting development of the plot. This test that is being placed, being tested out on Diaphanta and herself at the same time. And what this is doing dramatically in this particular part of the text. Thoughts in the room, because it's an odd little sequence, because it starts in one direction and then Beatrice-Joanna goes, oh, I'll just have a look through this cupboard and see some. Oh, look, here's a plot device. It's odd. But yes, it's used as a test to see what's going on with Diaphanta's life, and from some of the hints we had at the very beginning of the play, we can see what may have or not occurred. Thoughts on the room? I'll go to Holly.
I just want to say the accent just made that scene so well done, Matthew. Thank you.
Do you remember? Texas got a whorehouse in it with Dolly Parton. It was a musical where "And I Will Always Love You," and I just thought, wow, it just seems. It only came to me in the reading of it before, but the idea Texas got it's the sweetest whorehouse in Texas or something like that as a musical. That's the one, Rachel. Best little whorehouse in Texas.
Yes.
It just I don't know. Diaphanta. I think it was like Williams must have had a bit of that with One About Magic and Poe. There's a bit of Blanche in it too. Tragic Miss Julie, bless her.
Yes, because it's interesting what it's supposed to be doing. Because is the scene supposed to be sort of? It seems to be designed to be comic as a scene. Within is it just to give the audience a break from the darkness that has descended? I mean, it has a plot function, but you if you're going to have a virginity test, as it were, you don't have to have people gaping and sneezing and all of those things, unless it has a comedic function, as it were. Eric.
Well, I was going to say at least it's better. Well, not better, but I mean it can be kind of equally as funny as like the sort of the final scene of Men in Tights. You've got like Robin trying to open the chastity belt that doesn't open because it's meant to be opened by the sort of spoilers by the love of her life and the man who will be true to her, but obviously, yeah. Anyway, things go wrong. I'm also thinking that this is probably just proof that Beatrice-Joanna is not a maid, as opposed to by contrast rather than anything else.
Yes, and it's not and if you don't listen to those instructions clearly enough, that might not be awfully clear which is which. So it's quite important to get the distinction right. I'll go to Rachel, then I'll go to Helen.
Yeah, Beatrice-Joanna's opening speech in that scene reveals that in the space between the previous scene when she is led off by Deflores, that he has used her most vigorously. I'm misquoting. But she actually makes it clear, so she can be quite distressed at the beginning of the scene to make it clear what has happened, I think.
And that's the element here, that we're switching from one mode to another in a very. It's not like we've had a little act break. We're now doing a slightly different tone. The tone is switching mid scene. Helen.
I thought I knew this play, and it turned out I knew another play, so I didn't do enough homework on it. Are we saying that Deflores has had his way with her?
I believe the undone me endlessly is the description in the text.
Right. Okay.
That is the accurate quotation.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
okay. I now understand, because I was trying to work out where the servant, which bed the servant was going to be in. But now I understand completely and totally.
Yeah, I mean, the last scene of Act 3, the Deflores Beatrice scene, is very, it's very much a prelude to a rape scene, unfortunately. And between the acts with the dumb show, we have the sense of elapsed time. So it's, and hence her great worry that she's going to her bridal bed and she's not a maid. She'd never had sex before. She wanted to go a virgin to her marriage. She wanted Alsemero, but instead she got coerced by Deflores. And now she's learned that Alsemero has this magical potion that can tell whether she's a maid or not. Otherwise, blood on the sheets would have been easy to engineer. But yeah.
I've suddenly, everything's clicked. Deflores is, of course, Deflowers. Gotcha.
Yes, and we have in that dumb show, which we haven't mentioned, of course, we have Alonzo's ghost appearing to Deflores, and with the missing finger. So there is already also the portent that something, there will be a payback for what he has done later in the play. Okay, we have one more scene to go, so let's crack on through that. Act 4, Scene 2. Enter Vermandero and servant.
I tell thee, knave, mine honour is in question. A thing till now free from suspicion, nor ever was there cause. Who of my gentlemen are absent? Tell me, and truly, how many and who?
Antonio, sir, and Franciscus.
When did they leave the castle?
Some 10 days since, sir. The one intending to Breamata, the other for Valencia.
The time accuses them. A charge of murder is brought within my castle gate. Picario murder. I dare not answer faithfully their absence. A strict command of apprehension shall pursue them suddenly, and either wipe the stain off or openly discover it. Provide me winged warrants for the purpose.
And exit servant.
See, I am set on again.
Enter Tomazo.
I claim a brother of you.
You are too hot. Seek him not here.
Yes, amongst your dearest bloods. If my peace find no fairer satisfaction, this is the place must yield for account for him. For here I left him, and the hasty lie of this snatched marriage gives strong testimony of his most certain ruin.
Certain falsehood. This is the place indeed. This, his breach of faith, has too much marred both my abused love, the honourable love I reserve for him, and mocked my daughter's joy. The prepared mourning blushed at his infidelity. he left contempt and scorn to throw upon those friends whose belief hurt him. Oh, 'twas most ignoble to take his flight so unexpectedly, and throw such public wrongs to those that loved him.
Then is this all your answer?
'Tis too fair. For one of his alliance, I warn you that this place no more see you.
And exit Vermandero, enter Deflores.
The best is there is more ground to meet a man's revenge on. Honest Deflores.
That's my name, indeed. Saw you the bride? Good, sweet sir, which way took she?
I have blessed mine eyes from seeing such a false one.
I'd fain get off. This man's not for my company. I smell his brother's blood when I come near him.
Come hither, kind and true one. I remember my brother loved thee well.
Oh, purely, dear sir. Methinks I'm now again a killing on him. It brings it so fresh to me.
Thou canst guess, sirrah, one honest friend has an instinctive jealousy at some foul, guilty person.
Alas, sir, I'm so charitable, I think none worse than myself. You did not see the bride, then?
I prithee name her not. Is she not wicked?
No, pretty, easy, round, packed sinner, as your most ladies are, else you might think I flattered her, but, sir, at no hand wicked. Till they are so old, their sins and vices meet, and they salute witches. I'm called, I think, sir. His company e'en overlays my conscience.
And exit Deflores.
But Deflores has a wondrous honest heart. He'll bring it out in time, I'm sure of it.
Enter Alsemero.
Well, here's the glorious master of the day's joy. It will not be long before he and I do reckon, sir.
My apologies. 'Tis strange you found the way to this house, then.
Would I'd ne'er known the cause. I'm none of those, sir, that come to give you joy and swill your wine. 'Tis a more precious liquor that must lay the fiery thirst I bring.
Your words and you appear to me great strangers.
Time and our swords may make us more acquainted. This the business. I should have a brother in your place. How treachery and malice have disposed of him, I'm bound to inquire of him which holds his rights, which never could come fairly.
You must look to answer for that word, sir.
Fear you not, I'll have it ready drawn to our next meeting. Keep your day solemn. Farewell, I disturb it not. I'll bear the smart with patience for another time.
Exit Tomazo.
'Tis somewhat ominous, this. A quarrel entered upon this day. My innocence relieves me. I should be wondrous sad else.
Enter Jasperino.
Jasperino, I have news to tell thee. Strange news.
I have some too. I think as strange as yours would I might keep mine, so my faith and friendship might be kept in. Faith, sir, dispense a little with my zeal and let it cool in this.
This puts me on and blames thee for thy slowness.
All may prove nothing, only friendly fear that leapt from me, sir.
No question it may prove nothing. Let's partake it, though.
'Twas Diaphanta's chance. For to that wench I pretended honest love, and she deserved it. To leave me in a back part of the house, a place we chose for private conference. She was no sooner gone, but instantly I heard your bride's voice in the next room to me, and lending more attention, found Deflores louder than she.
Deflores, thou art out now.
You'll tell me more anon.
Still, I'll prevent thee. The very slight of him is poison to her.
That made me stagger too, but Diaphanta at her return confirmed it.
Diaphanta?
Then fell we both to listen, and words passed like those that challenge interest in a woman.
Peace, quench thy zeal. 'Tis dangerous to thy bosom.
Then truth is full of peril.
Such truths are. Oh, were she the sole glory of the earth, had eyes that could shoot fire into kings' breasts, and touched, she sleeps not there. Yet I have time, though night be near, to be resolved hereof, and prithee, do not weigh me by my passions.
I never weighed friends so.
Done charitably.
Hesitate.
That key will lead thee to a pretty secret by a Chaldean taught me, and I have made my study upon some. Bring from my closet a glass inscribed with the letter M, and question not my purpose.
It shall be done, sir.
And exit Jasperino.
How can this hang together? Not an hour since her woman came pleading her lady's fears, delivered her the most timorous virgin that ever shrunk at man's name, and so modest she charged her weep out her request to me, that she might come obscurely to my bosom.
Enter Beatrice-Joanna.
All things go well. My woman's preparing yonder for her sweet voyage, which grieves me to lose. Necessity compels it. I lose all else.
Modesty's shrine is set in yonder forehead. I cannot be too sure, though. My Joanna.
Sir, I was wont to weep a message to you. Pardon my modest fears.
The dove's not weaker. She is abused, questionless.
Enter Jasperino.
Oh, are you come, sir?
The gloss upon my life. I see the letter.
Sir, this is M.
'Tis it.
I am suspected.
How fitly our bride comes to partake with us.
What is't, my lord?
No hurt.
Sir, pardon me, I seldom taste of any composition.
But this upon my warrant you shall venture on.
I fear 'twill make me ill.
Oh, heaven forbid that.
I'll put now to my cunning the facts I know, if I can now but feign them handsomely.
And Beatrice-Joanna drinks.
It has that secret virtue it ne'er missed, sir, upon a virgin.
Treble quality.
Beatrice-Joanna gapes, then sneezes.
By all that's virtuous, it takes there, proceeds.
This is the strangest trick to know are made by.
You have given me joy of heart to drink, my lord.
No, thou hast given me such joy of heart that never can be blasted.
What's the matter, sir?
See now, 'tis settled in a melancholy, keeps both the time and method. My Joanna, chaste as the breath of heaven of morning's womb that brings the day forth. Thus my love encloses thee.
And he embraces her, and they exeunt. So we've got quite a lot of business going on in this scene. We've got various different units of action. We have the combination of the drinking of the potion, knowing how to simulate the effects of what's expected to happen. That is played with. Tomazo, as ever, is the person who knows all. And Jasperino. You've got various people in the periphery who know things and are observant and understand, and then they sometimes just have a blind spot and they have no idea. It's interesting about who's believing what and who isn't believing things. We've got a connection once again with the other plot line, Vermandero at the top of the play. This scene. Basically, effectively saying who's missing. They're in the other plot. They must be the murderers. So there is that again. Just a little tendril, just to remind you that there are two plots in this play. Thoughts in the room. Who wants to leap in on this one? Eric.
I'm trying to work out why the two brothers think that Deflores is honest. I mean, I find it interesting because also back then, like the stereotype that we've seen or trope that we've seen so far is that ugly people are also ugly at heart. And Deflores is generally described as someone either with a physical deformity or some other feature that renders him sort of unattractive or ugly, so to speak, depending on how you want to play it. And how far you want to go, of course, with the ableism and everything else. And it's sort of interesting to see that the reverse of that, where they think that he's not he's acting in a terrible way towards like Beatrice-Joanna. And we as the audience know that, but then Tomazo and his brother Alonzo don't seem to see that, which is interesting.
Yes, it's, as I say, it's interesting that Tomazo, is the person who was seeing through things in the first in the first couple of acts, is here. Does not see. He does come to the Vermandero for some account. I am missing a brother. And Vermandero isn't desperately helpful at that point. Matthew.
15 asides in this scene, and it's like snooker at the end. I can't wait to see this next Friday. I love an aside, and I just love the way when we talked about it's almost like that moment in musical theatre. I mean, there's a musicality to this, where they're both singing outwards, but they're really stood close together. That happened earlier in the play. Just the conventionality of this particular dynamic in this particular labyrinth. And one of my favourite lines that keeps on coming back to me is, justice invites your blood to understand me. And then I know it's like BJ, Beatrice-Joanna, but blood and justice is literally in her cells, literally physically and metaphysically in terms of the imprisonment.
Other thoughts on this scene before I go into final thoughts around the room? Any more to throw in there? Again, it's that slight mixing of tones. The Beatrice-Joanna's sort of impression of the what's supposed to happen with the potion is potentially there with a comic edge to it, which in a so dark a play it's those mixing together, and of course we're about to go into another scene potentially with someone who is effectively a clown, so it's an interesting question as to where those things bounce around. Eric, were you waving?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's interesting how we've had the sort of Beatrice-Joanna has tested Diaphanta, knows what the reactions are meant to be, what they look like. But then we hadn't been informed that that's in Alsemero's room. I thought that it was in her room or something. So it was kind of when we get the reveal that it's actually in his room, obviously because they're married and so on and so forth. By this point, it kind of, I don't know, it just kind of brings it together in a way, and you're like. Well, Jasperino's line about this is the strangest test for a virgin anyone ever saw. It actually makes sense, because why would you get them to drink something?
Okay, so final thoughts for those who've been here for both sessions or just for this session. I say the focus on what to do in performance. As Matthew mentioned earlier, there is actually a production at the time of recording coming up very soon. I should point out that was by the time you watch this a year ago, so you can't go and see it. It's long past. But it's not unusual for another production to come around the corner. And say there's lots of interesting production issues that arise from this, and also arise from the, shall we say, the production history side of this, which we may discuss at the end of the final session, because there are all sorts of interpretations about what's going on here that have shifted over time as possibly actors trying to do a rearguard action to try and make their parts less unpalatable have tried to push an interpretation of what's going on here to be much less explicit and to be something slightly different than the text is clearly saying. So we don't have a vast amount of time, but any final thoughts? I'll go round. You can pass on and say you have nothing if you have nothing to add. I'll go to Lalitte. Do you have any final thoughts?
Yes, something I've noticed is that it's very light touches, but there's so many points when we sense how Beatrice-Joanna is hemmed in. So just the fact that it always seems out of nowhere that her beloved fiancé decides he's got to test her virginity. I mean, where the hell did that come from? Why should he have any reason to doubt her? And so, just as with her father just deciding who she's going to marry, even the guy she's in love with is, she's being policed from all sides. And I think that's that just registers. It registers because it just keeps happening in just little instances all the way along.
And it's there from the beginning of the play. The play starts so claustrophobically, or at the very top, you get this sense that she's being controlled, or she's pushing against control, all the way through. Helen, you've just joined us for this session so far. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my instant thing is to say, what should a woman of this class in this time do under these circumstances? Because you then measure it against what the play shows her doing. And of course, she has no option but to kill herself. I mean, you know, it's Lucrece. The honorable thing to do on being raped is to kill yourself. In this world, I would say. I mean, I don't know what they were doing in 1622, but 1597, they certainly, that was the thing.
And it's,
I think that's it.
The questions of
except that reading Lollio, I found it. I mean, by the time this is heard, today's news will be yesterday's news, but the amount of that sort of behavior, I've no doubt, will still be around.
Yes. The abuse of power. This so much of this. Certainly, the hospital plot is so much of it is about the abuse of explicit institutional power structures, whereas we have slightly more implicit, just general power structures throughout the castle plot, to do with position and class and patriarchy. Rachel, any final thoughts?
I assume you mean this Rachel?
Yes, that Rachel. For the viewers at home, there is a virtual Rachel who isn't actually visible in the session. You can.
I struggle with this because I really want to sympathize with Beatrice-Joanna, and yet she's so unsympathetic in so many ways. The ordeal she goes through is, of course, horrific, and I wouldn't want to sugarcoat that by making it seem palatable or make her seem an active participant in that. But I don't find her very sympathetic.
Well, I mean, there is that problem that she has commissioned a murder, which is not your average act. So that does take the edge off and things. And I suspect that's possibly why people want to make them more Bonnie and Clyde active participants in their downfall. Even though it goes explicitly against what the text is actually saying happens. But you can understand why maybe that's a direction that some people take or have taken in the past. I don't think that's where anyone's going to go in the future. But we shall see. Eric, any final thoughts?
Well, you were talking about the power structures a minute ago, or about half a minute ago. And I was thinking that it's interesting because, like, technically Beatrice-Joanna being like who she is in terms of privilege, nobility, so on and so forth, status, social status, she would be the one in power in terms of, I mean, because we know that rape is about power, not about sex, although it is also about desire. Anyway, but yeah, it's kind of that disruption of the power structures in that in the social structure as well, which is throwing off everything. I mean, like her desire to get Alsemero, like Deflores' desire to get her, and then so on and so forth. Like it's basically this excess of everything that is kind of disrupting the play.
Tom, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I with Beatrice, I liked what people are saying that, and I like that gave the whole play a tension, this tumult, this fall from this urbane type of privilege, commissioning a horrendous deed, and then, not expecting consequence. I think that's where, for me, a lot of the tension comes, and the tension is always in the background. So, yeah, I think people are reading, possibly being too liberal with her comeuppance, if you will.
Olga, any final thoughts?
Not much, but just one question arose. How often do we see a man commission some dirty deed and then having to pay with it, with the consequences going as far as being obliged to commit suicide?
Yes.
Yep.
Especially at the society of the time, men were committed manslaughter and murder all the time.
Yeah.
And absolutely
left and right.
Yeah. I mean, literally, some of the playwrights of this period kill other writers and actors of their acquaintance, and pretty much get away scot-free. So it's not even just within the society; it's literally some of the people writing this stuff are men who literally get away with murder in the period. So
if we start speaking about the society of the time, it was basically for centuries built on power got through murdering left and right. So it's pretty interesting that this problem is brought here on stage, and of course it's a woman who can't do it in a way and has to pay.
Matthew, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just the discussion of sexual violation, and there is no euphemism for rape. Rape is rape. And in terms of the subjugation of these women and the objectification and the lens of the men, footnote, just in terms of Inspector Calls, where Joe Maggotty's having a bit with one of the girls of the women of the town, that kind of objectification, and we see here. I can't find the word rape in this text, but the fact that it's just so overt. And secondly, the idea that even if this is 1622 and then we go to 1696 with the relapse in Vanbragh's play, where he talks about one word, it says rape once, it says a rape upon your hand, and I know it came up with women beware women. So this kind of parodying, and I don't know why, but it always pulls me back to Titus Andronicus and this learning about working anachronistically and learning about the presentism with what's happening at the moment in our world on the 21st of 2023.
Yes, and Liza, because I don't know anything beyond Act 1. Liza, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Helen asked what would be the morally right thing for Beatrice-Joanna to do, and I think, I mean, the morally right thing, the correct thing for someone in her position would have been way back when to just obey her father and marry Piracquo, who is presented as a very good person. He's not presented, it's not a horrible fate to marry him. It's except that she is in love with someone else, and she doesn't want him killed for anything bad about Piracquo, except that he's the wrong guy for her to marry, and she really wants to marry the other guy. So yeah, I mean, it all sort of comes into the misogyny of the time as to and I'm kind of loath to say this, but it is part of how some people thought at that time, as whether a woman is a whore by nature, but what strikes me is how alone some of these women are, even though Beatrice-Joanna has her handmaid Diaphanta, with whom she seems to have a friendly relationship. Diaphanta, because of her social status, can't support her in any meaningful way. She can be there plot-wise for the bed trick, and I think the first scene where, but you know, the whole glass M thing is I mean, it's comic. It's a great scene to play for those actresses, but at the same time, Isabella is alone. She's receiving advances from a lot of different people, and whether those advances are welcome or not in different cases, there's not a lot she can do about it. She's locked in that house, much as Beatrice-Joanna is pretty much a prisoner in her father's castle, because that was the reality for upper class young women at the time. So yeah, in a lot of situations, on the face of it, women have, in this period, in this dramatic world, also have very little choice or control about what happens to them. And if they make a choice, if they try and take charge, then it makes them somehow unvirtuous, and then they deserve somehow, in the eyes of the patriarchy, to be the target of violence.
And finally, Holly, any final thoughts?
It's hard to follow all of that, to be honest. I think just kind of going back, kind of tying on with what Liza's saying, really, I think the fact that what happened between Deflores and Beatrice-Joanna kind of happened off stage as well. There's kind of this, it's almost undignified to be able to watch sort of that sexual violence as well. There's kind of, we're able to watch every Tom, Dick and Harry get stabbed on stage, but then there's this kind of, we're unable to see the sort of sexualized violence, and that's said in a lot of plays as well, with Women Beware Women. I'm not going to say the guy we're not allowed to say, but Matthew said the play before.
I've no idea what you're talking about.
But yeah, just this kind of, it all has to happen off stage, and we're not allowed to see it, and yeah, I don't know. It's all very interesting.
Well, we have one more session down to work through to the end. It's not exactly a spoiler to say it's not going to end happily for many people. I mean, we've only met one person we liked, and he's already dead. So it's going to be a difficult journey to the end, or maybe a delightful journey, because, of course, a lot of people we don't like will probably die as well. That's the one reassuring thing about tragedy, is that people we don't like often die. So on that cheerful note, just say that we are open for additional readers anytime. There is an open sign-up sheet that anyone can sign up. As long as you can join us at one of our sessions, then you are more than welcome to pop in. You can join to read, or you can just listen along live. Obviously, there's quite a delay between when we do these and when they get released. So if you want to keep up to speed with what we're doing, then you can do that. They're all on the website. Do go along. Links are in the show description. All that remains, thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.